Sorry for the wacky intro, but I'm kind of working on a new one, guys. So this week, bear in mind, it's going to be terrible. I'm really sorry. But without further ado, let's get into this week's video. So, I have a special treat for everybody today. Oh, there's 1, 2, and 3. These are the colors we're going to be working with. And by my nails, I don't know if you can tell what we might be making, but let's get into it. Starting with a 3.25mm hook, we're going to start by chaining 15. Then we're going to yarn over and insert your hook into that 3rd stitch right there. Get them in there. And we're going to double crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2 twice. Yarn over again, and we're going to double crochet all the way across to the last stitch. Oh, I love working with this yarn, and this pink is just so bright and just makes me happy. I absolutely love it. So there's that last stitch, or that last chain. Insert your hook. Make sure to yarn over first, because we are going to be doing double crochets. So you're going to do 1, 2. Oh, I hate when this happens. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. We're going to move that tail over too. You want to work it in while you're working on the other side instead of having to go back and sew it through or weave it in any other way. Like, I just find it a lot easier to work it directly into your piece while you're stitching. Just getting it lined up the first couple of stitches is difficult, and it likes to wrap itself around the rest of the yarn. So take your time and don't get frustrated like I am, because yeah, I get annoyed with doing this. Like, tails are so annoying, but we have to live with them while we're using yarn. Alright, so I think I've got it secured in enough to make this easier. I'm going to keep making those double crochets and make sure you have 5 in that top stitch, and then work your way back along the spine on the opposite side of the chain, double crocheting in each and every one until you get to the last stitch. Now the last stitch is here. It's going to be a little bit tricky. I like to have my piece look symmetrical. So in order to do that, with the chain 2 that we're going to be using to step up every row, I'm going to double crochet 2 together in the exact same stitch. So it's going to be 2 double crochets, 2 to decrease in the same stitch. It's still going to be 1 stitch, but it makes it bulkier, and it gives you that extra leg to work through when we're going to be working the rind of this top. Oops, I think I gave it away. And when I work up the next row, you're going to see what it looks like. So for round 2, chain 2, and we're going to do this at the beginning of every row, just like we're going to double crochet 2 together in 1 stitch at the end of every row. Here we're going to make another 5 stitches in that top 3rd stitch. And if it's easier for you, do like I'm doing now, and just add a stitch marker in the 3rd double crochet that you're working. I find it's a little bit easier to keep track if you really don't. Ooh, look how pretty it is. I love the pigments. Okay, so if you really want to make life easier, go into that third stitch right away and insert a hook, a stitch marker. Sorry, not a hook, right there. Stick them in, close it off, and keep going. So this way, when you work each round, you don't have to pay attention. And we're going to do the same all the way to the end. Let's go. Now, I made this top in an extra small, so it's basically made to fit a 10, 12-year-old or any teen, honestly, up until about age 16, and then you're going to start needing a little bit more rows on the fabric. So I did a total of 6 rows. For this one, I made 6 rows. Here, we're going to join, so please do not finish this stitch. Make sure you have your 3 loops on there, join your next color, which I went for a cream, but if you have a really light green, or you want to do a nice transition between the pink and the green that's going to be coming in, you can also use more of a peach color, but I really like the cream, the way it looked, and because I'm adding details later, I wanted them to match part of it, and I didn't want them to blend into the pink. So I'm going to be doing an invisible join, which is basically half knotting on both sides of the string, tying it tight together, pulling it, and trust me, this does not come out, so it's a solid join. I'm going to pull that through, and if my calculation there, perfect, awesome. So that stitch is going to be the pink stitch. Now we're going to chain up 1. And with this, we're going to work a single crochet into every stitch and 1 around each chain 2 or a double crochet 2 together post. So you have to get it really in there, like into that first stitch, or that last stitch, I guess you could say. Single crochet 1, get into the next one, which is going to be between the 2, as you can see, squeeze it in there, push through, and single crochet, and repeat this just across. It's 2 single crochet per row of stitches, basically, so it's 1 in the stitch, 1 around the post, 1 in the stitch, 1 around the post, and just keep going across. We're going to do this for 2 rows, and I'll see you in a moment. Now we're going to make 2 of these, because you kind of need 2. So for the first one, fasten it off, and now we're going to make this little extra that I wanted to add to it. I didn't want to go too crazy, so I cut out a piece of more stiff felt. I got this at a crafting store. I think it was like 3 large sheets for $1. So I'm just going to cut out a bunch of little itty bitty seeds, or they're a bit large in my case. I made them a bit big, but we were really going for a cartoony look, so realistic wasn't it. And this white felt has some sparkles in it, even if you can't see it on camera. They really capture the light in the sun, so it's really pretty. I'm just going to cut out even little squares as best as I can, free-handed. And I think I put about 12 or 11 on each one. I didn't really count them. I just took a strip, cut them out, and just stuck them on. I used not what I was supposed to use to glue these on. I actually went for E6000 because I couldn't find my fabric glue, like my no-sew glue. So honestly, it holds on pretty well. but it's not as sturdy and solid as fabric glue. And I guess it also depends on the materials you're using. Sometimes fabric glue just doesn't hold. So sometimes I do have to use E6000, but my tube broke, so I won't be using that until I get a new one. So I'm just going to trim these up a little bit, you know, remove all the little sharp edges, try to round it out, which is really difficult. This doesn't want to hold shape even with my teeny tiny scissors. So I am working as hard as I possibly can to get this to a decent shape. Like, I don't want it to look too fake, but I also don't want it to look too real, so it's somewhat misshapen, normal size. And let's finish making all of these. And there we go. I positioned them on top just to see where I wanted them roughly. I didn't want it identical, so I'm just trying to play around with them a little bit, and now I'm gluing them. Gluing them was tedious because I wasn't working with a functional bottle. I had to cut open this thing and go in with the paintbrush. Oh, it was hell. But as you can see, I'm struggling. The glue is sticking to the paintbrush, not to the felt. But it holds on to the top pretty well. It's been about a week since I've recorded this, and surprisingly, it's survived. So the glue is working. Now, that one had a lot, so I had to use my tweezers. Just stick them in place, hold them down for a moment. So I decided to change up my materials a little bit to work for the fake rind on this top. Seeing as they are watermelon slices, I wanted to go for, like I said, a more cartoony look. So I ended up grabbing my Bernat cotton and a larger hook. I went for 3.75 on this one. You could probably get away with a 4mm, but it's going to be hard to get into those original stitches on the first piece. So here I'm just chaining 60. Jade's not very large, so I'm going for about the size that I need just to tie behind her back. I'm fighting to insert my hook, but I got it in, and we're just going to simply single crochet. Now I wanted a little bit of a design for this, so I'm also going to be alternating stitches, double crochet in the next stitch, and just repeat, single crochet, double crochet in every other stitch, like so, and it'll give you a nice little detail when we add the second color in. So single crochet in the next stitch. And I kept getting confused with this, so yarn over, insert, and double crochet. And then when we come back to the single crochet, I would get confused again and have to unwind, and oh, there, see, I was about to do it again. Okay, let's just get down to this. Let's get across, and I'll show you how to join the next side. Coming up to the join, we're going to chain 3, and you're going to make sure you keep your pieces on the same side because you don't want one side with none of those little seeds showing. Get back into that first stitch, which is a pain in the butt, and single crochet again, and then just repeat as you did for the last row. So remember, you end on a single crochet and you start on a single crochet, and it alternates in between the two. Get all the way to the bottom or across to the edge, and then chain another 60. Now that the hot green is done, I'm going to join the emerald in the same manner, but this time I'm going to be working one stitch before the first single crochet. So that last chain, insert your hook there and single crochet. Why? Because the next stitch, the next single crochet, needs a double crochet to go into it, and vice versa for the following stitch. So in that single crochet, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook, and we're going to make a double crochet. And this is going to give kind of a zigzag effect along the base of this bathing suit, or little bralette top, whatever you'd like to call it, or however you'd like to use it. Now we're going to insert into the double crochet and make a single crochet. You see what I'm doing here? Great. Now we're going to continue that all the way across to the end, and into that last stitch off the second piece, I'm going to make sure I end with a single crochet into the first chain of the next strap. Then I'm just going to tie it off and we'll be done. So now to make the top straps. I decided to just join in the top, like quite literally the top of the top, because I didn't need any extra support on the sides, but you could totally join it at the bottom and work all the way around until you get to the top stitch. Just slip stitch in every single double crochet across. Now I'm going back to my first hook and insert it, not into the third stitch, but into the second one, because we're going to be skipping that third middle stitch is going to be a stand-in skipped stitch. So insert and chain. And for this, I chained 90, I believe. I don't remember, but you can get away with quite a bit. Honestly, you could chain a good 50 or 60 and you're fine. Unless you have an extra long torso, then I would say maybe make it a little longer. But other than that, you can also add on to this if you find the chains are too short when you try to tie it. Just test it out first. So the first one, I'm going to skip the first chain and I'm going to slip stitch into the second one and every single chain across. This is a pain in the butt, but I like the way that it creates a more solid strap, and you can see the difference between the shoulder straps and the back straps once you do this. But I figured solidifying a little bit more because it's a thinner yarn. I figured it would be better because the cotton yarn is a bit thicker as opposed to the cotton blend that I'm using for the pink and the white, or cream, sorry. And the greens are a little bit thicker, so I made this just to say it was a bit thicker and more in the same size. So just work across, and then we're going to work all the way down to the cream part. And I'm going to show you how we're going to crisscross in the front to make a little design to help hold it together and just to add a little accent to it. keep slip stitching all the way down till you get to the last double crochet. And here we're going to be chaining 3, just like we did with, or just like I did with the green. I'm going to chain 3 and I'm going to slip stitch into that first, right there, that one, there. I'm going to insert it there, and I'm just going to slip stitch there. And again, I'm going to slip stitch back up a couple more stitches because I do want to give it a nice little crisscrossy effect. So I need to move up a few stitches in order to crisscross it. So we're going to slip stitch in the first 3 stitches. You can make this also larger or smaller, but 3 was good enough. 4, sorry. From the 4th, that's where we're going to be working. So, sorry if I'm rambling today. I'm really talkative. But before I get onto that, I'm going to yarn over 4 times. Yes, I am. Okay. We're going to be skipping those first 4 stitches, like I said. And I'm going to be inserting my hook beneath the slip stitch that I was working. Yeah, it's a little bit harder to get in there, but you can do it. I'm just going to insert my hook, battle with it just a little bit. Keep the yarn on your hook as tight as you can so you don't have any loose stitches, because when working larger stitches it can be a pain to keep them, taut and in the right gauge. So just yarn over and pull through 2 at a time until you get all the way back down to your original stitch, and then we're going to start slip stitching into the second side of the bra top. Right into the second stitch, slip stitch 1, and it joins. See how pretty that is? We're going to work up just enough to get it to the same stitch from the opposite end, and repeat the process by stitching into the opposite corner on the other side to make the other cross. And instead of joining with a slip stitch, I inserted my hook through the back of the top and then rejoined my yarn and pulled it through. I found it gave it a cleaner look before making the actual stitch, and it really did. It makes it look a lot nicer. It doesn't just pop off of the top. It looks like it's coming right through it, as it did on the other side where the slip stitch was already there. Now keep slip stitching across up until the top again, and we're going to make the next strap and then just slip stitch across the strap and fasten off while joining it back to the top. Now to make this a little more fun, I'm getting out my box of beads I have collected over, I think, the last 20 years. I'm old, but I've had a lot of beads. I love beads. I love working with beads. I like making jewelry. So I'm taking these and I'm just going to add them to the straps. Very simple. Stitch them in. Tried to join them, but oh, dropped it. I tried to join it, but I absolutely needed the needle to do this because the yarn was too thick to get it through the eyelet of the bead. So all I'm going to do is just stitch it through, make a knot, and weave in the end. Make sure you make a knot so that it doesn't fall off because you don't want to lose that. If you add that accent, it's really cute. It feels like you're having, or it looks like you have a little seed dangling down your back. I love the look of it. It's so pretty, and it doesn't even bother me having it there. So do that to the second strap and you're good to go. This is the finished top. I hope you guys like it. I know I love it. Jade loves it. So subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications, and I will see you next week for another exciting video. See you soon.